in as much as holistic entrepreneurship, or even maybe holistic being, it's a very recommended thing that everybody needs to embrace, be it in their academics, work environment, right? It could be something also that's not so many people know about, or they could know about it, but they don't put it into practice, right? Let me get this from you. You have a very rich background in this area, and you've worked with so different organizations, right? How should entrepreneurs or even other people who are pursuing different kind of careers go about creating a very sustainable or a very holistic work environment?
Okay, great question. So I'll break it down into two parts, right? And not necessarily specific to entrepreneurs. I think everybody at different stages of your development or your life can maybe tweak it so it fits for you. The first part is this idea of holistic well-being.
Yes.
And what does that actually mean? And the way I like to think about it is in terms of the wellness wheel framework. And you can Google this for your listeners out there. Just type in wellness wheel. And what you'll see is that it's a tool or framework that shows you your various elements of your well-being. So physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, financial, environmental, right? And this framework really shows us that our different areas of our wellness don't live in isolation. What I mean by that, David, is all our areas of wellness impact on each other. So our physical wellness will impact on how we feel emotionally. Our social wellness will impact on how we might be physically. I'll give you an example. When was the last time you and Mamdu had an argument? Huh?
Oh my God, yes. When was that? Almost every day.
Every day. so you and Mamdu argue every day. He's part, make no mistake, he's part of your social wellness, right?
Yeah.
And because you guys are so close, you, after your argument or whatever, you might feel a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
like you feel guilty.
Exactly.
Yeah,
now
you
this
feel
is
emotional.
This is a very small example of how your social well-being has impacted on your emotional well-being.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't necessarily make that connection or are deliberate about it.
Yeah.
Another small example is we know how you feel emotionally when you are physically sick. Like when I have the cold and the flu, I don't want to get out of bed. I sort of feel a bit sorry for myself, all of that sort of thing. We know sometimes when we get that academic grade and we see, oops, I got
yes, man.
I got a low pass instead of that honors. I feel some kind of way. So that's part one, right? How do we look at the wellness wheel and identify how our different areas of wellness impact on each other, right? We can use that tool to then say to ourselves, and by the way, the wellness wheel can be used in many different ways. One of the very easiest way of using this tool is to look at it and say, self-identify. Okay, so for my physical wellness, I'm feeling at about a 5 out of 10. For my emotional wellness, on average, I'm showing up at about a 6 out of 10, whatever. And you can use it as a goal-setting tool, right?
Yeah.
I won't go into too many details about that, but happy to talk to people offline of how that goes. But that's okay. So wellness wheel framework, different areas of our well-being impacting on each other every single day. That's one section. The second part of this, and I think this is an important thing for people to understand, is that we are constantly chasing this, in my opinion, a false idea of balance. I'm sure you've all heard this, people saying, I need to find balance in my life, or I need to find work-life balance or whatever. But the reality of it is, it's not a scale game. It's not a zero-sum game. What it is that we need to be okay with some days we're going to be up, some days we're going to be down, some days emotionally we're going to feel better or happy, some days physically we're not going to be at our optimum, right? We need to be okay with existing in sort of this up down kind of thing, and that in itself is balance. Guys, we can't, because and why I say it's false balance is because people think balance is that every area of my wellness needs to be at a certain degree every day, 100% every day. And that's impossible. For me, balance is being okay with, all right, today physically I feel 5, tomorrow I feel 7, The next day I feel 8, and so existing in a sort of a range.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this work-life balance argument. I don't have the answers for this, but everyone says, I need to have work-life balance or work-life integration. But when I sit back and think about it, work and studies is part of your life. Why are you separating life and all of this sort of thing, right? So again, it comes down sort of to the argument of how do you do things in moderation and in this range where you're showing up or performing at your optimal level.
Yeah, correct. Actually, that's true. And I think what I'm getting from you is you can't really have it all perfect. You've got to,
and it shouldn't be,
right?
Because the thing is, if it is all perfect all the time, when are you actually taking a break? When are you rejuvenating? And being all perfect every day is boring.
Exactly. There should be some percentage of madness.
Yeah, I like that framing actually. But also remember, I'm going to bring us back to this idea of resilience, right? The way people become resilient is overcoming hardship. If you get everything easy in life, you don't necessarily be able. You won't. You then don't have the opportunity to overcome things and build that muscle that will get you through certain things, right?
Yeah.
And with my students, for example, if we give our students everything they ask for, I'm actually doing them a disservice because, and I see you look confused there, David, and I'll explain what I mean by this, right?
Exactly. I'm like, wait a minute, come on. Hey, because my fellow students are gonna listen to this. They'll be like, hey, what does Jeremy mean on this?
Hear me out, right? So if I solve every issue that students have, what I take away from them is the ability to solve their own problem and address the issue front up. Because one day you guys are going to graduate, and ALUs will be there in terms of being the institution and you'll be part of the AL group and alumni and that. But we're not going to be that safety net that protects you, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
A small example of this is like insurance claims. If a student is on our insurance, I'm not going to do your insurance claim for you. You need to be able to do that yourself, so you learn and grow from it. So my point is really about we need to go through certain struggles in order to become a little bit more resilient and know and actually in a weird way prove to ourselves that we can overcome certain things, right? So that when big things happen, we have that in place.
Great. This is the Talking Podcast, in case you just joined us. We are here talking on a very, very rich conversation or topic. We're looking at holistic entrepreneurship, a very big subject that so many of you out there may really find this helpful. And to agree with what you said, I read somewhere, it was saying that a step a day is eventually a mile. And a mile is eventually a marathon, right? So I think when we talk of holistic entrepreneurship, even just holistic well-being, really, you have to be flexible with your life, And one thing I've also learned is in entrepreneurship or in business, I think every part has to work together, And by that, it means you also as an individual entrepreneur, you are part of the process in your entrepreneurship journey, and also you're part of the process of your business. So just think of it if you're not feeling well that day, you have to maybe be at the grind with your business, right? I think your business would automatically be affected, right? And someone said it's okay for you really not to show up always, maybe to do your work if you're not feeling okay, right? Because you have to put into consideration that you first need to be well so that you push your project going forward. And this leads me to my next question. Like, I know you're a wellness expert. You're a wellness expert, but of course, you may be facing also different kind of challenges, right? So I'm interested in finding out how do you deal with unpredictable changes in your daily life or even in your career. And talking of your career, ALU is one of the institutions that really comes up with changes that you can't even expect. Boom! Come back to campus in September. and boom, exactly, and then boom, back home online.
Yeah, yeah.
Like very unpredictable changes happen. But how do you go about dealing with such kind of situation?
We need to be able to adapt, to say to students, look, this is how we need to pivot, we need to go there, whatever the case is. So I'll answer that in a second, but let me go to the example that you were using about, you as the entrepreneur, the one driving your business, and let's say, for example, you get sick and you can't show up to that meeting or meet with that client. This is where leadership comes into entrepreneurship, right? And this is also part of holistic entrepreneurship. As an entrepreneur, how are you exercising or building your leadership muscle so that you can empower those that you work with or who work for you to step in and step up when they need to? So if you are the entrepreneur, David, and I'm working in your company, and you need a day off, you've empowered me through your leadership, right, to step in for you when need being. So that's part of holistic entrepreneurship as well. The second part is, how do we deal with change, unpredictable change? Well, we've just got to be ready for it.
Which I believe you've experienced so much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, throughout my career, not just, it's an individual's decision how they want to show up to that change. What I mean by that is, you can sit in the corner, cry about it, think about it, figure out how, and avoid it. But if you avoid change is going to not avoid you, right? It's like that old saying about politics, right? You can avoid politics, but politics don't avoid you.
Yeah.
It will impact you no matter what. The second thing that comes to mind is, and then the other side of that is, or you can just acknowledge that, listen, change is actually constant. And as an individual, how do I choose to approach change? So it's a mindset thing as well.
Yeah.
The second thing now is, listen, it's not easy. Change will always be difficult. It's always going to be uncomfortable. It's always going to cause anxiety levels to skyrocket, especially if it is in work, right? The minute your bosses come in and say, hey, new strategic direction, this, anxiety levels go through the roof.
Yeah.
Again, it's up to the individual to figure out, okay, how will they, approach this? But also, in a work environment, I believe it's up to the leaders to hold the space for their employees to work through what that change will be.
Great. Now, I know you've done some attempts on entrepreneurship, although you said you're not really an expert.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're grateful you did that. You took the attempts at it, right? So now, what is it that you'd wish Africa did different when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Oh man, many things. But on the main one, I think, is for African companies or governments or whatever you want to say to invest in actual entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. I think when you look across the continent, the majority of, I speak under correction here, but a lot of our young African entrepreneurs that are starting to grow, a lot of their investment is from external. It's from off the continent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I think that's one of the big things that I'd like to see change, is that Africans, as Africans, we start investing in each other and investing in ourselves, right? And really drive what the African entrepreneurship narrative is for us, instead of what we think it should be based on Europe and America and all of that sort of thing.
Correct. Let's just round up maybe on this. Like, I was looking at really again your background, career background, guys. And if you really want to be well, this is the man to see. Where wellness is concerned, I think you are really an expert in that, because you did psychology, right?
Yeah.
So, and with ALU, I've noticed you've been the student wellness counselor, the student wellness manager, principal psychologist, director of student life, and now the campus director. How does ALU promote holistic entrepreneurship or even holistic learning as an institution?
So I think in terms of my own career trajectory that you've just read out now is, I was hired at ALU as one of the psychologists right in the beginning. And, to really think about what does holistic wellness look for our students as they go on this journey of becoming an entrepreneurial leader and changing Africa. Me personally, and also from a staff point of view, I think we're very deliberate about how we grow our people, how we set them up for success in that growth journey. And I've been privileged and blessed enough to expand outside of psychology within ALU to now, oversee all the non-academic programming and operations for us. Also, the individual has to be deliberate about where they want to go in their career, right? So I think that's how, from a staff point of view, we sort of promote it and understand and be deliberate about our staff's professional development. For our students, honestly, David, it's within what we do. Our model of 70, 20, 10. We're really pushing that. Get out there, go into industry, understand what industry is about. Declare your mission, but you might see that by the end of your first term or second term, maybe that wasn't the mission for you, because things change and things evolve, and that's perfectly normal. And the idea is that we want to create spaces where students can discover and explore, and be deliberate about their growth, and take ownership.
As a campus director, has there been a time when a student comes to you and because of course AU does hard things, they're stressed and they come to you to guide them through how exactly can they be well?
Yeah.
And how do you handle such kind of situations to a point where maybe a student wants maybe to even give up, be it in their academic journey or maybe even their entrepreneurship journey?
So now I don't do therapy for students anymore. We've got a wellness team that really looks at having the live one-on-ones, whether it's a counseling conversation, a growth conversation, and you name it. But I have office hours every week, twice a week on my calendar. Students can book office hours with me. It's 20-minute slots, 30-minute slots, and students book those times with me for a bunch of reasons. Anything from complaining about their roommate, right through to what you've just described now, David. Like, listen, I'm in the space of giving up, whatever the case is. In fact, I'm not faculty, but I have 3 senior students in Rwanda that I supervise, quote unquote, on their capstones, because it's in healthcare. So I meet with them once a month. We discuss their progress, and I sort of try and give them input and guidance. But the student who comes in and says, look, I'm ready to give up and I've had enough. My role there is to really understand, okay, what's going on? Is this a institutional thing that we're messing up and we need to fix? Or is it something that the student is personally going through? And then we say, look, let's see what the avenues of support are for you within our institution, if not externally. But I'm always available for students to just come and have a chat. And it happens numerous times.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for coming through. We really appreciate you. It's been a great time,
David, I've appreciated you, man. Thank you so much.
People can pick 1 or 2 things out of this, And now, before I let you go, so talking of holistic entrepreneurship or holistic well-being, can you name 5 things that people need to do maybe on a daily basis for them to really work towards their well-being?
That's a good one. It will be very different for every individual, right? Because it's a personal process. But if I could give sort of generic 5 tips, so to speak. 1, pick a part of the day that is completely yours, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, and you shut out everything. Start off with 10 minutes. So it's like an unplugged moment. For me, it's my mornings. Every morning, you'll actually see it on my calendar. If you go there, you'll see morning reflection and stretch.
Very busy.
So my morning is the time where I bring myself towards myself, so to speak. So that's the first tip. Pick a time of the day where you can just come together for yourself. The second thing is 30 minutes of activity. Move. And I'm not saying go and to the gym every day, go run up hills here in Kigali. Start off with a walk. So move, get active. Third thing, and this is one of my favorites, is go every day, sit and think about 3 things that you're grateful for. Start a gratitude sort of log. And it can be random things like, today I'm grateful for David, for the
Meeting
podcast.
Jeremy.
Today I'm grateful for the sun. Today I'm great. What this does is it helps us start focusing on the good things that we have. Our life is we focus so much on the negative all the time.
Yeah.
So one, pick a time of the day. Two, that is completely yours. Two, move 20, 30 minutes a day. Three, write down 3 gratitudes that you are grateful for every day. 4, drink a lot of water. That's a very simple thing. Eat well, like your diet. What you put in your body is it's going to impact how you feel, how you think, how you work. And the 5th one I would say is journal. Now, I'm not saying you have to reflect deeply or whatever the case is, but I do this thing where 3 times a week I'll open up my journal and I'll just purge everything that is in my head, and I write down 3 full pages, and it just helps me to get rid of all the overthinking. Yeah.
We can't hear more than that.
Yeah.
They say, whatever goes up must definitely come down. And I think this has really been enough and very rich information or content to take. And I believe this is going to be very helpful to everybody out there. Once again, thank you for coming up, Jeremy.
Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Next time we're going to record maybe in Mauritius.
Yeah,
Mauritius.
we'd love to.
That side.
We'd love to have you there.
Indeed, this has been the Talking Podcast, and your host David Mvita, aka the People's Choice. I was talking to Jeremy, the campus director for the African Leadership University. Do join us again next week with yet another expert on the show. And of course, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms, which is The Talking Podcast. I'm yours truly. We are out. See you next week.